Hi, my name is Brendan Crosdale, and welcome to the LAN party. I'm sitting here with two of my friends, Andrew Nelson.
Hello.
And Mike McLaughlin.
How's it going?
And we play a lot of fucking video games. We're basically just a couple of regular Joe slobs who sit around playing a lot of games, and that hobby has been taken over. It's been hijacked from us by one game in particular. And so for the first episode of the LAN party, we're here to discuss Destiny. We love and we hate, and we love and we hate, and it's Destiny that we love and we hate. And since we're going to be talking about gaming, and gaming is such a big part of our lives, and that means in terms of playing so much Destiny, it's very important that I think we sit down and talk about that game. So the first major question is, why the hell have we played so much Destiny? I'm over, at this point, almost 100 hours played. That's a lot of time.
Oh, really? I've definitely hit that.
I've played at least 100 hours. I think I played for one weekend, the second weekend I had the game, which I started playing 2 months in, so beginning of November-ish. And I had my first weekend with it. I played probably 40 out of 48 hours. I slept 4 hours a night.
Actually, I can figure out exactly how many hours we're sitting here. We have that handy app.
I don't really want to know. That would probably
I kind
explain
of
why
want to
I'm
know. I'm
single.
creeped out. Oh god.
Oh yeah, that's right. I've lost a girlfriend since I started playing this game.
This dude down a dark road almost immediately.
It's got really dark. Welcome to the LAN
Yeah,
party.
but why? I mean, why are we playing so much of Destiny? Why is it this game?
Well, okay, so first off, I think that Halo, Bungie's the developer for the game. For anybody who doesn't know, I'm sure everyone knows about it, though.
I think if they didn't know, they probably wouldn't be listening to us.
That's true.
Yeah, I guess if you're
That's true.
confused, Destiny is the second IP ever released by Bungie. It's a game that's published by Activision.
Third.
Is there third?
Yeah, Foundation.
Well, second IP that I've killed. Well, yeah, I guess I have Marathon and a bunch of other ones.
Or Marathon.
So it's horrendously inaccurate. It's an IP released by Bungie.
Well, alright, so I started playing this game, and what really hooked me with the game is that I loved Halo when it came out. I mean, I was in high school when that game came out, and I just binge-played that with Mike on Xbox Live.
On the same couch that's currently in my living room.
Oh, it's gross. I've slept on that couch during LAN parties when I was 14 and when I'm 24,
Wow.
so...
We have a decade of LAN partying on that gross, gnarly couch.
We should probably be recording this on that.
No. We should probably throw it out.
And I completely forgot about it. I fell out of playing video games for about 8 years, and I decided to come back because all my friends were ranting and raving about Destiny. And what really pulled me back in was that it was a Bungie game. And what really sort of hooked me on it was the MMO sort of descriptor of it. Because I loved MMOs. I played World of Warcraft and was hopelessly addicted to that as well. And I just wanted to play some shooters. I wanted to play a game that I could sit down and shoot things, but with my friends. And I wanted to play with my friends. And that's what got me into the game. And I've just been hopelessly addicted because, for all of the flaws that we'll probably go into later, it has a great universe. I really like the universe for this game. But I'll pass this off to Michael. Why you play this game so much?
I am going to start with what really can't be argued with. Mechanically, this game is just, it's tight.
Oh, yeah.
The Ferrari of shooters that exists right now.
Oh, yeah.
It really, it's just so beautiful. The first time you pull off a shotgun slide and just ace someone in the Crucible, God, it's good. It's so good. It's really, it's stupendous. And there's something that Bungie used to talk about. I remember I was watching a documentary on Halo way back in the day. They were talking about how they make a game. What they think about is they find that 3 seconds of action that you really love, and then they repeat that over and over and over and over and over again, and you will continue to play because it never diminishes. It continues to be fun. That first time that you got behind a hunter with a pistol and shot him in the back, and you're like, I can one-shot these guys? I'm just going to do it just right. Oh my god. It's the same thing. They have not faltered at all on the beautiful mechanics of the game just being perfect. So that's, I guess, to start with why I really absolutely adore this game so much, despite all of my horrible hatred for it at the same time. But yeah, it's a smooth machine. It's a really great ride.
I mean, mechanically, I think having the supers built in, the super ability for every class is so gratifying when you use it. It is. Nova bombing is one of my favorite things to do because you just feel like the mad space wizard that your warlock is supposed to be, just shooting this massive blast of void energy into a room full of screaming people.
And that brings us to really the second half of why I really love Destiny, is because it's the first game I've ever played that actually fuses massively multiplayer online first-person shooters.
Yeah.
A lot of people have tried. PlanetSide had some success.
Yeah. Still trying to have some success. Coming back to the PlayStation.
Again? Really?
Yep.
Hey, no, seriously.
Sony Online Entertainment.
They tried hard. It wasn't a bad game, but they never pulled it off.
Yeah, no.
They really didn't. But it gives you that carrot on the stick that every MMO has, and it does it so well, where you're sitting there, you're like, man, everything's in greens, at least amount of the whites, and then you get blues, and everything's in blues, at least amount of the greens. Then you get legendaries, and everything's purple now. And
I just picked up a legendary engram for a heavy.
Oh,
yeah,
man, Jesus Christ.
I was just playing this game before we came to record this podcast.
They manage that carrot on the stick, and at the same time, they also really make you feel like every point you put into your spec, every little minute change, and every little RPG element that you overtake and that you come onto is absolutely worth it.
Yeah.
They pull that off.
Yeah, I think for me that's like key to it as well, is that it's this weird chimera of genres of games I love. And what it's stolen from those genres are all the things I love the best. It's got the loot cycle of progression and going out and farming and coming back with the better thing and using the better thing and going out for the thing after that. So it kind of has that vicious build on it that we got used to in games like World of Warcraft, what I played way too much of my life, and Diablo and all these other classic games that it built upon. And then it fused that with the kind of action gameplay that you would see in a very finely crafted shooter. Halo, your Call of Duties, your games that came along like that. The other genre that it taps into, and I think this is part of why it's been key for me, is it started to inch towards the MOBA genre. It started to get this multiplayer element, particularly with the supers in it and the use of abilities, where character class really matters. You have to master playing that specific role with those specific perks, with that specific loadout. But unlike Call of Duty, where it's signature to their participation, maybe that match or a couple of matches or things, you really want to synergize with your team. You want to design your skills to match the role you're going to play.
Oh, yeah.
Now, it doesn't do it with anywhere near as great the depth as something like Dota 2 or League of Legends or something like that. But it has enough of it in there that it added to the multiplayer. It felt like something beyond Call of Duty. It wasn't just like the same game that I got in the fall that me and David sat on a couch and played ad nauseum.
David is another part of our LAN party madness. I'm sure he'll join us for future games.
He's not allowed today because today was the day he told me he'd kill me and eat me.
That is true. He did say very nonchalantly that he would kill you and eat you.
This is what happens when you work with people who are quote unquote your friends. Is you end up talking about cannibalism, and it hurts your friendship.
Listen, man, I'd eat you. I'd break being vegan to eat you.
Wow.
If necessary.
I ate a lot of bacon, so you'd be double screwed.
Yeah, but I think that was part of what brought me in. And so when I had those three kind of notes, right, like I was hitting those three places in the game, and then you combine it with the fact that I can play it with my friends.
Yeah.
That's the perfect for me because it is a good hangout place. That is the coolest part about Destiny, is it's an amusement park you go hang out in.
Yeah,
you buy this ticket to it and you get to go on all these fun rides with your friends and talk about it. And even a lot of the time just waste time talking about things that aren't even related to Destiny. Which sort of leads me into the second part, is you have a lot of fucking time to talk about things not related to Destiny, because if you were going to say talk about the narrative, you run out of things to talk about really fast. So I guess I do want to talk about some of the game's other strengths and things, but those were kind of mentioned in what our draws to it. The other side of this coin is we spend an awful lot of time in this game complaining about it.
Oh yeah.
For lack of a better word.
I mean, that's everybody though.
Yeah, yeah.
I haven't heard a single review. Forbes actually just released today that Destiny was named its most disappointing game of 2014.
Ouch.
Which they did throw, in line with the, I'm doing air quotes here, narrative. They did add a little bit of light in the darkness. It was the most disappointing because it had so much potential,
like that,
and that it's
light
still
in the darkness.
Yeah, it's a play on Destiny.
Did you get that from Forbes, or that was on your own?
No, that was from Forbes. Those people get paid to write. I get paid to. I don't know.
Yeah. Thanks for being honest, because this is being recorded. So if you lied,
Forbes crack down.
Those motherfuckers.
Cease and desist.
Oh no.
We're literally all lawyers. Anyway. Yeah, we've talked about the narrative. I think all three of us and James, our other friend, we've had so many conversations about the narrative.
Yeah.
I think we've speculated a lot about it, about why there's such a huge lack of narrative and what the fuck happened internally with Bungie that happened.
Yeah, I mean,
because Halo was this massive like space opera. Like the story was brilliant, and all
they
the
also
Halo
had some good writers.
They had some great writers, and if you've read any of the Halo books,
Eric Nyland, who is an actual he's not just some dude they found behind a dumpster, and they're like, yeah, write a sci-fi novel, let him do it. He's an actual
most sci-fi
to
writers
suggest the normal process of games development. Do we have a hobo?
He's actually a good science fiction writer. He's written a bunch of other great books like Signal to Noise, which is just. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
He's a spectacular writer, and they charged him up with writing the Halo novels, and I'm sure he made a lot of great money doing it.
But, so with the narrative, though, I guess what's kind of kept me from rage quitting the game over the lack of narrative, because I was expecting there to be this beautiful narrative to this universe that is arguably one of, my favorite game universes I've ever played in, despite the lack of a story, is that yeah, it has the Grimoire cards, which I think we can all agree is kind of a throw-in. But when you tie them all together and you read some of the lore that the community has put together, which, by the way, if you've never been on the Reddit, the Destiny game Reddit sub-forum, it's an amazing community of people coming together and sharing stories, sharing experiences. But my favorite thing is when people put together lore mega posts, where they take all the Grimoire information from the cards, which are these... the cards that you get from leveling up and getting weapons and stuff like that. And sort of patching together a story.
Honestly, that makes it so much worse for me.
It makes it worse.
It makes it so much worse. Because the fact of the matter is they have to have some good writer buried in there somewhere writing these lore cards.
This is what fucking kills me. And it's probably... I can see this because both of us are dungeon masters. We have this background in storytelling and world building. And it just seems like the app with the Grimoire cards is this fucking... red flag to me. It's this thing that says something went so wrong, because the game it's such a tightly built world. From an artistic standpoint, I love it. As somebody who's trained in illustration and considers the visual arts and things like that heavily. I'm not talking about pure graphics. I'm talking about design here. The level design in it is amazing. The way it uses its verticality and its environments and its lighting and its textures and things. Amazing. It's really cool. It has all this lore baked into it. When you look around in an environment, you see all these things. Like, first time you go to Venus.
Oh yeah, the Vex gates.
Right. You see the spire up above you. You see the Ishtar sink with all the crazy old buildings and everything. Like, you do these things that are really... that you don't end up getting rewarded by there being any effect here, but you end up looking at the pools of the acidic water, and you're like, can I walk through that? Is that going to hurt me?
Yeah.
And
or on Mars when you go into the Clovis Bray buildings, and you're all they give you for Clovis Bray, which is this massive gun manufacturing, technology manufacturing from the quote unquote golden age, is this one paragraph that Dinklebot gives you, and
and then some fucking nonsense scrawled on cards in your phone.
Yeah,
you can't even access it in the game.
They were able to get Peter Dinklage, arguably one of my favorite actors, and has one of the best voices, and I think he does a really good job in his delivery. They were able to get him, but they weren't able to get a good writer.
This segues us into another great problem with this game. Horribly messed up, because they have some of the best voice talent around. They have Claudia Black, who's amazing and has 3 lines.
Nathan Fillion, who tells me sort of why I'm killing the Archon Prince. I mean, not really, but he kind of tells you why you're there, and then he shoots a one-liner off when you're near that big table.
That's neat.
It's Nathan Fillion. It is fucking Mal.
And that's all he did not do it for charity, I assume, so they paid a man to come and...
Where are the rest of his lines?
Right, what happened? I feel like that must have been planned ahead of that, too.
Yeah.
Now, this attaches to other things, like when you're playing the core campaign, you visit the Reef, and you meet the Queen out there, the Queen of the Fallen. We don't really know what she rules over, but...
she rules over the House of Wolves, which we'll get to later.
Sure, we think, based off of the tiny lore cards we have and things that have leaked.
Yeah.
And then she's got her brother there, who's a dick, and for what it's worth, is at least dramatically interestingly enough that we know how he feels about us, which is more than we can say about pretty much everyone else you meet in this game.
More than you can say about the Queen, even.
Yeah, I think he dislikes me more than the Vex, to be totally honest. So
absolutely.
I don't know. So you have this guy, and they all feel like the leftover parts of what was supposed to be there. And I think for me, I have the same impression as Mike. The thing like the apps and the community developed lore, that's rad. I love that people are riffing on it and being creative and they're looking at the lore that's there and trying to fill in the blanks. But man, what if we had what was to be, right?
Okay, real quick. I think what I'm doing when I'm looking at this is doing what Bungie didn't do, which is using what was given to me to make a good situation out of a bad one. They took what was given to them and said, fuck it, threw it into a dumpster with the hope that they got to write the actual story.
We don't technically know the circumstances. It could have been super bad. And there could be 100 reasons. There could be legal reasons or reasons we're never going to understand for why it ended up the way it did. All we do know is that the narrative is probably the largest glaring issue with the game.
Absolutely.
And it permeates other aspects of the game, like even the multiplayer. Like a complaint that I hear that I don't often find myself really agreeing with is that people don't like that Shaxx speaks when you're in the Crucible and that his lines are kind of like melodramatic and weird and they don't really understand the purpose of the Crucible. I kind of like it. I like that he's there. I dig the idea that it's like this futuristic coliseum that people are like betting on and things.
But nobody knows that because they never explain it except for those stupid lore cards.
Right. The only way you know that is if you open up your phone while you're at work and waste time in the John flipping through lore cards. So
I have done that.
Right.
I have absolutely done that.
And I mean, that's a sad state of affairs. I wish that was in the game. Like, what if at some point you went and talked with Shaxx and they showed you, like, the massive throng of people in the city who watch these matches and gamble on them? Or
that is one of the things that I would love to see is more lore about the city. Because there's this great, like, I mean, you stand in the tower. I remember that first time I came to the game, and you stand in the tower and you look out over the city, and you're like, wow, that's super cool. And then literally the closest you can come to being there is throwing yourself to death over the edge of the railing.
Which is actually an interesting analogy for how close you can get to the narrative.
Yeah. But that being said, I don't know. I'd love to see more of the city. I'd love to see more of the lore. And I think that it was a glaring oversight. And it's my biggest peeve with the game. And I think the next one after that would be how they handled the Dark Below, their first expansion. Air quotes around that as well.
All right. To tackle on to just the lore thing really quick before we go, I think it is also the problem with the narrative is a microcosm for the problem with the game because you love the world so much. You want to spend more time there. You want to learn more about it.
Absolutely.
It's addictive to learn even the tiniest little nuggets that you have. So the fact that you're held back from it is very frustrating.
Yeah.
And its implementation feels ham-fisted, basically, which probably dovetails into your complaints about the first expansion. I have a pretty good idea what you're going to say. Why were you most upset about this?
They shouldn't have called it an expansion.
So that the vernacular of expansion you felt was a
start.
To start, absolutely. If they had called it a DLC, just downloadable content, I would have been fine because that's what it was. It was not an expansion.
Now, is that a value judgment on its monetary value to you?
Yes. Okay. I think it was way too expensive. I mean, I don't know, how much was it? Was it $15, $20?
It was like 20.
If you buy the season pass, it's like 35 or 40 or something like that.
Which almost, by the way, everyone I know practically did.
Yeah, that's what I did.
I did not.
Okay, so you bought it individually.
I did. I made that mistake because I was short on cash that week.
Well, okay, but I guess first, we need your point about this, but I have another thing about this season pass and as it relates to Destiny and things. But
well, okay, so my biggest problems with the Dark Below were I had just hit the level cap. Or was very close to hitting the level cap when the Dark Below was released. I had just grinded up rep with the different factions to get all of the gear that I wanted, and I had just spent so much time leveling these weapons. For them to come out and basically throw all of those in the trash and go, okay, those are all useless. You can't upgrade them, except for, the exotics, which at the time it was just the last word. But you do all this work to get all this stuff, and their best thinking was basically to say, all of that's useless, you have to get new gear now. Mm-hmm. And that, I think it ties a little bit in with some of the design of the gear. They wanted to have people have new stuff to show that they had done the new content.
And I have to say, that would be fine if it was an expansion. As an MMO player,
yes.
When the Burning Crusade came out, wow, that dates me.
Yep.
God.
We're a while back on.
Oh, God.
Anyways, we all started playing Vanilla WoW, didn't we?
Yeah, we did, back in 2004. Anyways.
Oh, jeez.
Wow.
Yeah.
When the Burning Crusade came out, I was fine to get rid of all my legendary gear. Or my epic gear. That was totally fine because I had to go grind through 10 more levels and do a whole series of new raids and instances.
Sure.
Oh, and all of those new zones.
However, wow, this is really going to date me. If going from Ragnaros to Blackwing Lair,
This
is horrible.
Yeah.
There are going to be so many 16-year-olds who listen to this like, what are you talking about?
To be fair, of the three of us in this room, I'm actually still a current WoW player. I have played it through every expansion. I understand Mike's pain here.
Yeah.
For those of you who are laughing in any way and being like, that was so long ago, Ragnaros, Jesus, shut up. They just did the damn commemorative event for everybody so they could redo Molten Core so we could all relive the nightmare of it. You do remember what vanilla was like. If you don't, there's lots of YouTube that can inform you as to what it was like. It was
horrible.
It was an interesting time for the human race.
It was very basic, but it was awesome.
There is a point here.
Yeah.
If going from Molten Core to Blackwing Lair, I had to throw out all my Molten Core gear, I would have been pretty fucking pissed off.
Well, okay, but then I would say, in this case, that actually is almost what they asked you to do. Except it doesn't work out in the same way in Destiny, right?
Right.
You needed your set of gear in WoW, but that it's following a progression mimicked in every other MMO. So for anybody who's like, oh, they did it first year or whatever, I don't care. I'm using World of Warcraft as an example because we understand that game. Yeah. You use the gear that you acquired in Raid A to progress into Raid B. It's a higher tier of difficulty. There's just math that you're fighting against, that if you don't have the better gear, you're not going to be able to kill the boss in time, or you're not going to do sufficient enough damage.
Timer
right. There are mechanics that hold you back, so you need the gear to do the next thing, which in theory was going to be the progression with the Dark Below. But that's not a promise that technically delivered on, and I think the timing of it is also something to consider here, because you lived in each expansion environment in an MMO like WoW, and in particular in WoW, for about 2 years every expansion.
Yeah.
Now, you're progressing your gear the entire time you're in there, going from one tier of difficulty to the next tier of difficulty, but the gear you're picking up had a longer life in it the higher of tier of gameplay you got into.
Absolutely.
Almost all of the endgame content that existed prior to the Dark Below dropping, which was, what, 4 months after the game came out?
Yeah, it came out in September. No, 3 months.
3 months.
Yeah, it came out in September, and then Dark Below was December 11th, I think.
It nullified the relevance of literally every item except exotics at that point.
And even then...
Except for the Crucible, of course. I mean, I've used Found Verdict
but then
all the time.
There's the Iron Banner, which was going to be my biggest problem again. We'll get to that.
Well, yeah. In exotics, even then, you had to go through all these huge convoluted loops to get your upgrades. You have to hope that...
It's a rigmarole.
Yeah, it is a rigmarole.
To steal a phrase from the Game Over
this. As a warlock, my favorite exotic item has been the Voidfang Vestments.
Oh, yeah.
And a month out, we still have not gotten the upgrade.
That's right.
He released it 1 week if I wanted to spend all my strange coins to buy it again. But if I wanted to upgrade my old pair, hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, I mean...
Probably never happened.
Well, and that ties in for me to the fact that the game basically turned into a farming game.
Yeah.
Like, you're basically just going around doing your bounties every day, which you've done a million times before. Oh, they threw in a few extra bounties with Eris, the Herald from Crota. Yep. But after that, if you're not like a hardcore Crucible player where you want to play that every day, there's not a whole lot of content, because you do the strikes and you've done them.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess that's the thing is, personally, I was okay with the fact that it was a content-light expansion, because for me as a COD player who's been playing annually forever, the first couple of DLC packs for Call of Duty I would always buy, and you're essentially just getting map packs. The last few editions of the game, you've gotten some extra weapons or things like that. I was okay with throwing another $20 down for that to continue that experience. So for me, I wasn't as depressed. I do think the MMO side of me wanted to pretentiously say, expansion, this is a map pack. I got very upset about that, but I kind of let it go because I was like, well, they don't really know what kind of game they are. They're obviously having some kind of identity crisis with the design of this game for obvious reasons.
Yeah, I don't think they've admitted that they have an MMO on their hands yet.
No, they deliberately don't call it an MMO.
Which is bullshit.
Do you think?
I think it's dumb.
For you guys, it is truly an MMO.
100%.
It's a shared universe.
A bad idea to try to... Especially... when you're owned by Activision and you have Blizzard right down the row and they could just come over because they are the experts and they could help you out and be like, guys, this is how you MMO.
Well, here's what makes it an MMO for me. There are raids that you need to play with other people. There's content that is 100% grounded in needing to play with other people. That makes it a massive multiplayer online game because it is multiplayer by nature. And the thing is that they don't have group making or matchmaking for your raids.
Right.
Unless you want to use a third-party website or app.
So I guess addressing it in terms of content, you guys look at it as the core of the game being multiplayer and design, and because you have the content that can only be bridged with the aid of others. That's
no, I would say the core of the game is a first-person shooter.
Okay.
Which is what I think they started with, and then the way they built the universe, it turned it into an MMO.
I mean, it's not at all mutually exclusive.
Oh no, I know.
No.
I think the core of the game is built around being an FPS, and that.
See, because I think this game is just pulled between way too many genres. I almost agree with Bungie. I think I would be hesitant to call it an MMO for a lot of reasons. The basic support they have for the game's design is kind of rough. Like, you don't have the matchmaking, you don't have like a looking for group tool, you don't have even essentially support by Bungie for forum systems that would allow you to set up groups or things like that. And until recent patches, you didn't have things like fire team chat and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And there's no
Which
text
nobody
communication.
uses.
Yeah, nobody uses it anyway. The opt-in chat was... That's another thing about people on the internet. But the opt-in chat was a strange feature. But I mean, I think if you're looking at the way that it's structured, it has all these strange things. It has MOBA elements to the combat. It has deep investment in a campaign-like shooter with these, sort of on-rails, highly linear experiences. It's got the dungeons, which are set up, I guess they're multiplayer, but I don't think any of the 5-man strikes that you do are really essentially... The what?
3-man.
3-man, sorry, yeah. The 3-man strikes that you go on are essentially even really multiplayer events, because a lot of the times you could solo the content in them. Or if you are playing with other players, communicating with them is almost unnecessary.
I'm gonna put this down. Not all of us are you. I could not solo most of this content.
Well, I mean,
you seem to have a special talent for just plowing through by yourself.
Well, methodically.
Bubble Bros, man. Bubble Bros.
Yeah, but I don't even think it's like a high-level player skill or something like that. I think it's just the content doesn't necessarily need you to communicate. The first time that you run Sepics, you're not, like, when you're doing the House of Devil's Lair, you're not constantly asking each other, like, oh my god, what's going on there? Like, how are we going to get around the tank? Like, mostly you're just all doing trial and error in the same room.
Yeah.
You don't need that organized strategy, and if you have it, you'll get around it easier, but it's not, the game is not requiring you to do it.
Yeah.
I think the first time that communication is required is when you get to the raid. And for me, that's when it starts to actually act like an MMO.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have the tool set built into it to support that idea.
Because you can't find a group.
Right. You can't find a group. It doesn't have matchmaking.
You have to know 5 other guys or girls who play the game, are leveled up, are competent, and aren't going to rage quit after 2 deaths.
Right. And then you get into the same stuff that you would get into in any other MMO. You learn the strategies. You read what the community did online.
Mm-hmm.
You advance yourself through all those different processes.
I'm going to put this out there. I never said it was good as an MMO.
Well,
I think it's a first-person shooter, but
yeah.
Okay.
I think it's a bad
I'd say
MMO.
it sort of edged its way into being an MMO, maybe inadvertently.
Which I agree with, but then I feel like it gets pulled in a million directions once you're even in there. So I have trouble. I guess I just have trouble committing it to really anything.
So, I don't know. With that, I'm wondering how they'd be able to make it a better MMO, because I think for all the complaining that we do about this game, I think we all have some pretty decent ideas of how we could make it better.
Well, okay, before we get to that, I have one more problem I want to talk about.
All right.
And not to make this overly negative, but I feel like this is the other... To me, this is the triumvirate. We've touched on 2 of the big ones.
Yeah.
The matchmaking system and the community having to invent that, the problem with the narrative, and in my opinion, the other glaring problem is the Iron Banner.
The Iron Banner.
The Iron Banner.
Which we will spend the rest of this weekend playing.
Yes, we will. And, oh my god. Okay, so Destiny's PvP is the well-oiled machine that I expected from the developer of Halo. It has all of the things that I love about the combat, and regardless of how this gets me flamed out on the internet, I feel like an incredibly balanced system of skills and weapons. I don't feel like there's glaring overpower anywhere in it. The weapons and abilities that do feel powerful are designed to be that way, and there's specific rules about how they're implemented. The map design is impeccable.
Oh, yeah.
They're
it's fantastic.
Just amazingly well-designed, visually interesting, fun, intricate experiences to have. You can build strategies around them. It's great.
Go B!
So...
Well, the Crucible's good if you're playing Control. I don't know anybody who plays any other version of
Yeah, I don't...
Skirmish is
this is getting into my problem.
Okay.
Okay, so they made this great base, right? Like, you built a beautiful chassis for what could be, and you don't have team matchmaking or lobbies. You don't have leaderboards. You don't have any kind of internal stat tracking that Bungie does besides their apps, which are cloaked in a field of darkness because depending on what privacy settings you're elected to on the website, people can and can't see you. And that information is almost completely inaccessible when you're in a match, so you have no idea how you stack up against the people or how it works. There's no publicly acknowledged MMR. So you have no idea how you got matched with the people you're playing against, so whether it's being done in any way that makes any sane sense. And then, when they decided to have a pinnacle of the PvP experience, they invented the Iron Banner. Now, hate is a really strong word that I'm not going to use here. But I cannot understand when they said they were going to make this pinnacle experience for the PvP side of the game, that they just went halfway on everything, and it hurts. The gear you get from it doesn't bring you to endgame. The struggle to get that gear is not particularly difficult. You just have to play a lot in 1 week.
Yeah.
On top of that, because there's no leaderboards or any matchmaking around that, you don't feel special for anything you achieve in the Iron Banner. You just feel like you played a lot, which is...
Right. It's not a
basically the
tournament.
definition of a Destiny player is, did you play Destiny a lot? Okay.
Yeah, there's no tournament. You're just, instead of fighting for the red Crucible, you're fighting for the green Iron Banner.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So then, in the actual match itself, which is supposed to feel somehow more hardcore, more, cutthroat, the abilities are supposed to matter. Guns are going to hurt more. Gear and weapons and light level and all these things are supposed to matter, and they're irrelevant. I mean, they're 100% irrelevant. I feel like there's no difference unless that person is markedly lower level than me in what happens to them. And for the most part, you're not encountering a lot of those. Unless for some reason you're on a team where the MMR put a lot of them on the other team or on your team, then maybe you notice the slight ease of victory in that match. But there's no difference. I mean, the weapons that I use in Crucible have the exact same time to kill that they do in a regular match that they have in Iron Banner. I live and die by all the same abilities. None of my supers or my grenades or anything interact in any other more interesting way. And it just feels like this hollow promise that hurts because the PvP is just the thing for me. Like, it's the reason I want to do the raids and get the loot is so then I can use that against an animal. I want to play against a player.
It's too bad that all the raid armor is in PvP.
Right.
Yeah,
well,
it's all mediocre as hell.
Well, all of the raid armor is literally made for the raid. I have my raid
the raid
boots
is
for...
in. That's also kind of weird to me.
Right? It's not built for progression. You cannot use gear that you got off Templar or Atheon to fight Crota.
Right.
It's dumb.
Or even if you do, it's not providing you any advantage. So
Right.
it's like...
Or it's like, well, you can't reach light level 32 or 31 even with your old raid gear,
Right.
which you need to be able to do the raid properly. Properly.
They want you to have it to do the raid easier.
Right.
Yeah.
But even all of the raid drops from Crota are all built specifically. One of the major perks of them, of every single piece, is something to benefit you in the raid.
Right.
So you're losing a perk that you would normally get on another item.
The equivalent of that at least should be the Iron Banner, so why does the Iron Banner gear have any kind of unique perk for PvP combat?
Yeah.
Like,
all of it is just reload faster or more ammo for X weapon.
Which you can get on other pieces of gear easily.
And now they've band-aided it with a few features to try and make it better. They did change some of the stats juggling behind the scene to try and make it a little less even than it was, which I guess they must have changed because before light level was meaningless. There were 24s in the Iron Banner doing just as well. But then, like, you can reforge the guns. They made more drops available in the Iron Banner. They made drops that you can buy off of them. This week, they're offering a raid equivalent light level slot gear. So you get
the
just
gloves.
one piece.
Yeah, the gloves.
Just one.
Just one piece.
One single piece.
But it's like, it's just, to me, that doesn't feel like the pinnacle. And this is as somebody who's played not just other shooters that had ladders and things. I played other Bungie games with effective ladders. I'm one of those freaks who liked ODST. And the ladder structure in that for customizing your gear, like, you felt elite. Like, you got certain pieces of gear in that, it was amazing. Call of Duty, you get the prestige banners, and now that shit carries over game to game. Like, I remember one of the coolest things about Ghosts, which was a terrible Call of Duty game, was that when you got in it, you had banners, like, going back to, like, Modern Warfare 2 that you could equip. So if you had Prestige 12 in that, you could throw that banner on. That was cool to have that.
Yeah.
We don't even have anything. Like, there's no...
Well, I think it's that Destiny is this game that has the promise of being huge and massive and beautiful, and they only went halfway on all of those things. And even though the community is literally screaming at the developers, they don't. They seemingly have ignored it. I mean, there was the leak of the possible content calendar for the rest of the year, and it's looking like there's only going to be one release this year for their expansion, quote unquote. That's going to be any different than the Dark Below. I just think that they keep going halfway when they really should just develop larger concepts.
Yeah.
Should have got off the pot, guys.
Now,
Yeah.
I guess along those lines, how do you see these improvements going? Like, what would you, if you could change a couple of aspects of the game? You're now hired at Bungie. They're putting you in
Right.
development because why not? What
Okay.
are you going to do? Where would you start?
Personally, I'd start with changing up public events. I really love the public events. I love the idea of, you're in this random place and a devil walker gets dropped on top of you. Oh no, you're fighting it by yourself. Oh no, there's some other guy who showed up. Yeah, and then you take it down and it's great. And you get some actual good...
Which was sort of what they told you it would be like an E3. They were these ad hoc, changing moments.
But the same thing is, at the end of the day, you just sort of go and sit in a zone to kill 3 of them so you can get your bounty done, so you can rep up, so you can get gear. Like that, it's another part of farming. What I would like to see is something, again dating myself, more akin to the Encourage opening sequence for World of Warcraft.
Really going back to the
I know.
Like,
we gotta stop.
Okay,
what happened?
We gotta stop.
Okay, but hear me out. It was this massive, the entire server would have to come together to sort of, push off these attacks, or you would have to do these massive raids in open world. And I loved that.
There were metastats tracked.
Metastats.
So
I'd love to have, basically build a zone around the city where you're repelling a fallen attack on the last city. Something that's ongoing, but you'll be in the tower and you'll get some sort of alert, like imminent attack, and you have to go down to the city and you have to find it and you have to help with other guardians to repel this massive fallen attack. If you're there long enough, you get certain gear or certain, ascendant material or radiant material, and eventually there's a boss that comes and you can either kill it or you get killed.
So what you're saying is you feel like when that devil walker drops, you can walk away and nobody's worse off.
Right, exactly. There's no
lack of consequence.
Yeah, there's lack of consequence. It's like, that devil walker got dropped on this zone with a bunch of other fallen in it and no, anything. The other thing I'd like to see is them sort of start showing that the Traveler is getting stronger. Start showing that the Cosmodrome is being cleared out and that we're moving outwards from the city.
So for you, you wanting to connect with the global event, basically.
Right.
You want to feel connected to the conflict that's happening. That's kind of greater.
Honestly, it would break the monotony of having to do these farming bounties over and over and over again. For me, I've always played games for PvE content. I love PvP. I'm not particularly great at it, but I would love to see them step up their PvE because the raids are great. If you've ever done one, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, they're the gems of the game.
They absolutely are, even though their PvP is beautiful. Iron Banner aside.
Like growling at that statement.
Okay, but those are my 2 big things. I'd like them to work on their loot system. I'd love them to work on their narration, but honestly, if they start to implement narration poorly now, if they don't do it right, they're going to lose a lot of players. Yeah.
So for you, it's an immersion value.
It's an immersion value.
You want some consequence to the events you're doing. You want some kind of build-up. You want...
Right, make me care about the universe.
Okay.
They've built this great thing, but it's 2-dimensional. I'd love them to give it some dimension.
Okay.
Building on a point that Andrew made, they need to stop throwing away good content.
Yeah.
They threw Vault of Glass away.
Yeah.
There's really no other way to look at it.
Well, they are sort of fixing it. A little bit. Not really.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is exactly
they're
what I'm
making
saying.
the gear better.
Thank you for proving my point. Should I say anything else?
Well, okay, what do you mean? Where would you like it to go?
We just said the raids are this great gem. Then why would you bring in a new raid to replace the old one? Why not have them both running concurrently?
Yeah. I think an idea behind that is that if they could somehow provide loot that carried significance going forward, like say Ascendant Shards weren't immediately replaced, there'd be a reason to go and farm them at least from the Vault of Glass, which I think is a band-aid. That's not really good. You don't just want to be going there and doing it over and over again for loot. But if there was an incentive to go back for whatever reason, like there were some kind of current drop in there or the content leveled up, and there were achievements somehow for defeating it at the new level cap. Like, oh, Atheon has a 32 mode now.
Yeah.
Let's go and see if we can stop him.
36 light level armor, 331 attack guns.
Yeah.
That would be great. I mean, yes, they
up the difficulty. I mean, they upped the Vanguard playlist, the Strike playlist for Vanguard Rock, so you could do higher level.
That was something they did really well too.
That's honestly one of the only good things that they did with the expansion.
Wow.
I'm straight up.
Stab indeed.
It was a super easy fix, and I don't understand why they don't do these things. But Sorry.
You know, I was. It's
don't.
cool. It's whatever.
I don't want to
just talk
hijack.
from my
For those of
point,
you who
too.
don't understand, they're married. It's a
We've
struggle
been best friends for 14 years.
every year.
Oh, it's 2015, man. We're coming up on 15 years.
Wait,
We've
no,
been
no.
friends since the year
Oh, yeah.
2000.
Oh shit.
What is that? You guys are, that must be into the medals in terms of anniversaries by now. 15 years?
Oh Christ.
Silver or something?
I
Anyway.
don't know.
All
It's
right.
gross.
Palladium.
I'm kind of done with them.
Honestly, we just don't talk anymore.
I'm glad
get
we.
home from work.
You know, I'm. Yeah.
So about
I'm glad we
those
don't. All right.
Yeah.
One of the things I really liked when they brought the Vanguard playlist up, they gave us some better drop rates. When the game first came out, one of the first things I realized, oh my god, the strikes now drop legendary ships and they look cool.
Yeah.
And I farmed the hell
Yeah.
out of all the strikes
Sure.
just to get my ships and to get the better drop rates, to get more legendaries, to push myself through. I don't see why they have to shoot themselves in the foot and throw away quote-unquote old, and by old we mean 4 months, PvE content, and not just bring it up a little bit, have it run concurrently, give people more to do. Take away from the monotony. Yeah, a lot of people have already done it before, but we talk a lot about people we affectionately call Christmas noobs. Most of them will never run Vault of Glass.
Kindergartens.
Kindergartens. Most of them will never run Vault of Glass because they really don't have to. There's no reason for that. There's no reason that there should only be one active raid in the game.
And I mean, if the game continued along this trajectory, that would only get worse.
It would.
Yeah.
Terrible.
And honestly, I think that the raids have the best chance at having a really good story narrative. And there's a bunch of cool stuff. Oh, we've talked about the narrative enough of it as a bad point. I just want to say that the community has come up with some awesome story content for what could have happened in the Vault of Glass with Kaber and Bahinin and the mystery third person who was lost to time so nobody knew who it is. Exo Stranger.
We hope.
Yeah.
We can only imagine. But that brings me to another point. They moved towards this, but once again shot themselves in the foot with the expansion, quote-unquote, whatever. I don't know how many times I have to say that. The raids and the strikes need to be incorporated directly into the progression of the storyline. The Vault of Glass should have been the end of the game for the first arc, for the first 20th levels. The Black Garden should not have been the end of the story at the time.
Oh, absolutely.
that
You're
was
so right.
So really
Yeah,
stupid.
that always stuck out as kind of a strange decision, was that it somehow didn't progress into it, especially because that was another thing where it feels like maybe we're missing part of the story there, because obviously the Exo Stranger, what we do know about her, pretty much the only thing we know about her, is that she really hates the Vex.
And she travels through time.
We think.
Yeah.
Possibly.
We don't know that. We know she has a radio and she talks to a man who has a ship that was parked too close and she gets upset about it. And then later she...
Kill the engines.
Right, later she gives you a gun.
Which isn't very good.
Which immediately goes in the vault or gets sharded.
Right, yeah. But, it was there. It has some neat abilities. It looks kind of like a construction tool, but hey, there you go. That's really all we know about her. But if it had gone into that, that would have been, to me, much more, like, that was another drive to go do the Vault of Glass.
Yeah.
So I remember when it first came out, it was basically like, it was like a challenge, right? Like, Bungie even framed it that way with a lot of their community posts. They were like, come and try and do the Vault of Glass. Do you have what it takes?
And another part, the strikes. I didn't play any of the strikes till I was 20th level. They were built so that you were supposed to play them with the rest of the storyline. But unless you're there bounty farming and going and being like, oh, I'm level 8, I gotta go run Sepik to get that bounty. They should have had the strikes be the last mission of each zone.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well,
I think they kind of screwed up by making the zones not linear.
Well,
Yeah.
they were linear.
They really weren't.
They were linear-ish.
They were linear-ish. Like, if you followed the pattern of them, there was...
I don't want them to railroad us either.
Yeah, that's true.
yeah, I think there were some interesting little exploration missions they gave you, especially on Mars. I'm kind of fond of some of the missions there that don't really have any connection to the story. There's like, this is the one where you're stopping the Cabal from going after the War Mind on Mars.
Yeah.
Like, that, it doesn't connect
going
to the
after
Vex
Brackus.
subplot then.
I love that mission.
Yeah, it's
I run
really
that mission
cool.
all the time. Whenever I see Cabal majors come up, I'm like, yeah, I'm going right after Brackus today.
And it's kind of cool because you get to the end of it and you're like, oh, Clovis Spray built this big robot man here.
Rasputin.
Yeah, and it's talking to Rasputin, who we met in the DLC.
Charlemagne
finally.
is the other war mind.
You know what?
Charlemagne,
If anyone
yeah.
actually does listen to this, hopefully, thank you guys, please listen to it, and you do speak Russian, could you email us or send us a message, tell us what Rasputin's saying all the time? Because I do want to know.
Yeah, I really
haven't
wanna
been able
know.
Find
Yeah,
on the
that'd be
internet,
interesting.
which is-
Maybe,
That was-
maybe that's what we're missing.
Actually, that was the coolest part for me so far of the Dark Below, was where you have to go protect Rasputin, the war mind, and he just starts playing this
He does play some
classical
cool
battle
music.
music.
Yeah, it's a rap
like,
fight.
Yeah.
And I think the voice acting on Eris too contributes to it a great degree. I love all the
Yeah.
little things she says on those missions, and the notorious line in that one for me and Danny every time is when she's Omnigul, Omnigul. Like she's so upset about it. And,
Cool.
and of course, at that point, you're like, Omnigul, like shit, that weird wizard I fought. Like, why does it matter? And then she shows up and starts wrecking house with summoning all these things, and you're like,
Yeah.
damn. But
Recurring villains. That's something they did well. They didn't
Yeah.
have any of that. I mean, okay, in the very first mission, they had that one Fallen who shows up and you kill him 2 missions
yeah, we
later.
steal his ship and then we come back and just murder him later because
In the very next mission.
that's how we roll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
Recurring villains, it's a really great plot device. It's super elementary. Why did they miss out on this up until now? I'm glad they finally brought it along, but why did that take so long, guys? It shouldn't be hard to figure out.
So, Brennan, Fearless Leader, what are your things that you'd like to see them do better?
I mean,
Or do to address some of these problems?
mine are, they're, in my opinion, they're tiny changes by comparison, and they're not even changes. These are things that were obviously left out, in my opinion, and I'm saying they really must have been left out. They need a public MMR and leaderboards for PvP immediately.
Yeah.
They need to put spectating in so that we can have some form of shoutcasting with the games so that they can build a competitive scene. And for the people who are actually interested in the ladder and competitive PvP, they need to build it into that. And that system, in my
Need
mind...
to build a what? I'm sorry.
they need to build something... So with spectating, you can have people observe the matches, you can have people casting the matches, so you can have Twitch streams
yeah.
of things like that. You can encourage that community, which there are a lot of people who would be willing to get in on it, who would be really interested in it.
Yeah.
And for me, that's something I really like. Even if I wasn't playing at a competitive level, I like watching that. I like learning from those people who are better. And you can do that now through the community, but it's really dense and difficult. It's hard to figure out what the stats are. The third-party tracking sites don't have access to the same kind of data they would if Bungie did it internally. I mean, it's just a mess, and I don't understand why it's not there. And then beyond that, with the PvP, that system needs to be rewarded. I think if you're going to be rewarding the content of the challenges of PvE, they should equally do it with the PvP side of the game, because in my mind, it's almost half the game.
Right.
You get these map packs that are released alongside the DLC content every time. You get 3 new maps, new game modes, presumably, down the line.
Capture the flag.
Yeah, CTF.
They need to
Guys.
have...
Buddy, no respawn modes, CTFs. Let's just do it.
Yeah.
I'm adamantly against the idea of a no respawn mode.
Oh, God.
I'm so against it in Destiny, even though, you know, I love Counter-Strike. I think it's a great game. Because supers would unbalance that. So
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, well, I mean,
supers would
Actually,
make that
they
impossible.
are planning, from what I've heard, speculation of is that they're planning on doing a no radar, no supers mode.
Yeah.
Which
But
would be
then
very
why are
cool.
you playing Destiny?
Well,
That's
yeah.
true.
I mean, there's lots of problems with that, but I think the implementation of the systems to try and give some significance to the PvP and abilities for the community to track it would be a huge step forward for me. Especially because I think that's almost reinforced by the lore we do have supporting the Crucible, which is the fact that it's a training simulator that people watch as entertainment.
Yeah,
right.
there's
We're in
betting
there
on it.
murdering one another, literally. Like the lore actually gets to support the fact that the same person gets up again after being killed by his friends brutally.
Guardians, yeah, the Guardians are immortals.
Right.
Which I think is why we're not allowed into the city.
Right. But I mean, like that would be cool to explore. But it gives that aspect like something almost another tier to it. Like, what if after a certain level of PvP achievement, when you walked around, you didn't just get shit on by Shaxx in the tower. Like you walked by him and he was like, "There's one of my heroes." And like, he was just like, you know, telling other people to look at him and, you know, things like that.
They could even add more flavor to it, and part of your going up and rating it could be like what was it? Guitar Hero, where it's like number of fans.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Like, or like, you know, you have like a fan club, or you have the thing in Smash Brothers where it like cheers when you're doing well.
Mm-hmm.
Like if they shouted like something like that, they're like the crowd is cheering for, and it tells you who or something. And when they're on a streak,
I think that's too self-aware for the game.
but okay, this is the thing. I think with those modes built in, it starts to support a lore side to the PvE that brings in the immersion.
I think that, say, for the MMR, for you know all the matchmaking and the ranking system, I think that would actually be a really great way to tie it into the lore. Actually, I know I'm going back on what I literally just said, but add another option, kind of like Iron Banner, but it's constantly there, of matchmaking PvP. For the people who want to just do regular Crucible, they can just continue to regular Crucible. If you want to be ranked and have your games matter, give something where it's basically like you're on TV in the city. Yeah, you know, you're actually in the Crucible.
Right, and I think for me, it's the biggest transgression. Right, because the narrative thing is obviously linked to some kind of internal development problem. I have no qualms about that. Something went wrong. This was not how they intended that to be. The design elements that are all halfway there are some poor choices. They maybe got down the wrong path, or they couldn't do something they wanted to do technically, or they weren't sure if they should, because they're exploring this MMO-style genre that they don't really know very well. Yeah. Like, there are reasons for why a lot of the other stuff is there. It's atrocious. Like, it's almost unforgivable that you would have competitive PvP and not have spectating and leaderboards. How did you get that far in the development when Halo's had it since forever? Yeah. Like, I mean, it just doesn't
make sense. Halo 2.
Plus, how many iterations of Call of Duty dominating the sales market every year do we have to go through before everybody's like, okay, it's not just imitation. This is
another reason, it goes back to what I said earlier, another reason it's unforgivable. It is Activision, guys.
Right.
Activision owns all these great games that we're talking about, Call of Duty, World of Warcraft.
We haven't left the house of that. I mean, other than the time I mentioned Dota, we haven't really talked about like anything outside of Activision's
So you
plan.
think someone would be there in a cubicle going, oh yeah, let's send that team over and we'll sit them down and have a meeting. We'll fix this.
They'll round
it. It'll be done in an afternoon.
Now, I don't just want to jam on the problems that we have in Destiny, because I think the other side of this coin is the only reason we care at all and want these changes is because of how fucking good it is.
Yeah, I love this game. It's the game you love to hate, like you said at the beginning.
Yeah,
I love playing this game. I literally went out and bought a PS4 and a TV to play this game.
Yeah.
Because my other, I don't want to talk about it. My other TV sucked, but it's terrible.
It's the reason why he hasn't played games since Vanilla WoW.
Yeah, it's true. But I literally went out because I saw my friend play the game for 10 minutes and came back and I was hooked. I needed to play this. I didn't even play the game.
Good. We got you real good.
You get dragged right down into our
now tomorrow I'm leading a raid on Crota.
Now, I think, piggybacking on that, the loot is probably one of the biggest positive aspects we have about the game. It's one of the things that gives you the best feeling in the game when you get a new gun and you use a new gun. So I want to take a minute to talk specifically about hyper-specific examples of things we love in this game. In particular, the loot. I want us to each talk about our favorite item we got. It could be a gun, armor you picked up, something like that. What is the thing you've got in Destiny that you just love, and why do you love it?
Thorn 100%. It's all Thorn. Bungie made me love handguns in video games. When you're growing up, back in the 90s, back when we were children, you got the pistol as your starting gun because it sucked.
Yeah. The Magnum.
It was there to make you underpowered. It was there as your fallback. It was just that gun you had that maybe had unlimited ammo, or maybe you just always had it for that, when you were screwed. But the Magnum in Halo 1 is my favorite gun in any first-person shooter ever. Until Thorn came along.
Until Thorn dethroned.
Once again, back to Bungie and the things they've said, that perfect 3 seconds of gameplay. When I truly loved Thorn, and I do love Thorn, I think I love Thorn.
He's pointing at me.
I think I love Thorn more than like some of the people I've dated, to be honest.
Whoa.
Truth.
Michael.
Man gun love. And cartoon gun love.
The first time that I took out Thorn and I fired a single shot that over-penetrated through 4 dregs, and they all took one step forward and the DOT kicked in and they all died in unison with that one bullet from a handgun. Wow. Yeah. Guys, wow, that's good. That's a good feel.
I think its recent buffs, too, gave it so much more utility. Yeah. It wasn't like a terrible weapon. It just wasn't the most attractive exotic prior to the changes, but the adjustments have just put it into a class of its own.
It's one of the only guns that I take into Strikes and into Crucible with the same frequency. I think it's just a glorious, wonderful weapon, and I might even just buy one of the replicas they made and just put it on my wall.
Those rad 3D
cool.
prints.
Oh my God.
So nice.
And it looks cool, and it has loads of lore steeped into it. Lore cards. There's a lot going on, and it has this really satisfying, unique sound, and it leaves that green vapor trail. And if you actually watch, I don't know if you guys have noticed this, when you fire the gun, it fires these little darts, and you can stick them into the wall.
They're poison darts.
Yeah, you can go look at them.
Yeah.
You can be like, hey, I put that there.
Yeah.
It's great.
There's actually some great lore about when it was... the hunter who used it, I can't remember his name, he killed Pahanin, who was one of Kaber's friends, and they went into the Vault of Glass. And she is the one who made Super Good Advice. And Super Good Advice, which was actually a security blanket for Pahanin losing Kaber after the Vault of Glass and being really sad about it. So she made a sentient gun that...
My God, you're on Reddit all day.
I know.
A rabbit hole.
No, this is actually like in the lore of the game. Anyway,
in the cards.
So, all right, my favorite weapon I want to say is Plan C. Until Xur sold it. No, hear me out. Until Xur sold
everyone had it.
Until literally everyone had it, and you could not play Crucible without just getting one shot by Plan C.
So is it fair to say you liked it until it was popular?
That is
wow. In line with my hipster aesthetic.
That's worn off at least. I don't see Plan C around anymore.
Yeah. Everyone's using Murmur now.
Murmur, the last word.
I think Murmur sucks.
I think
Murmur.
I'd have to say Vision of Confluence.
Vision
Still,
of Confluence.
I mean, it's not leveled up to 331. It's not that the damage cap, but it is a solar weapon or solar damage primary scout rifle that fires full auto, has field scout, so I have max ammo, and it has near perfect stability. Yeah. And it's not a high rate of fire, but I can just hold down the trigger and just headshot PvE over and over and over again. It over-penetrates through, solar shields. I love it. It is in close second, comes in the last word, which I think we're all probably going to say hand cannons.
Yeah, we're about to make it completely around.
Yeah. So Michael had Thorn, I had last word. It's a great friggin' cowboy fanfire, beautiful gun.
I do like that it is a single action pistol.
It is, yeah.
You're always...
Yeah, it's just fancy. It is a revolver. It is beautiful. And Brendan's is...
Mine's Hawkmoon.
Yeah, of course it is.
The thing about Hawkmoon, so from somebody who plays a lot of shooters, and I've played a lot of shooters, a lot of Call of Duty, a lot of Counter-Strike back in the day. I used to play Counter-Strike competitively before college when I was a wee child. And it was a game that you could play like for free with scary things you downloaded off the internet. I guess it's probably actually still free in that form. Anyway, I freaking love this gun for PvP. Now, it is amazing outside of it, but hand cannons aren't really my jive when I'm doing the raids or I'm doing strikes or the Nightfall or things like that. There's always another weapon that I feel will have a different utility. But the thing about Hawkmoon in the Crucible is that it is so basic in its perfection. Right, the gun has amazing effective range. It has really high impact. It has next to no recoil. A bottomless magazine for a hand cannon.
It does kick a bit, man.
Not really. I mean, it centers so fast it doesn't really matter, and it's a 2-shot kill. So even if you're waiting a while for that recoil, it's finishing them off, and that is all before you hit holding aces. The fact that it has 3 luck in the chamber rounds in it that you don't fucking need because the gun will kill them anyway just turns them into the candles on the birthday cake. Like, it is just amazing. Every time I get that gun back, it's like everything's right in the world. Even when I'm losing a match, I feel good about it, and I love the way it looks. I love the way it sounds.
It's the closest thing for me to tie into what Michael said. It's the closest thing to that Halo 1 Magnum pistol. Yeah. It is in look, in feel, in just the amount of damage that it does per bullet.
Reticle. I missed that reticle.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I think that is probably my favorite piece of loot I got. The fact that it's super freaking rare, too, is really fun right now.
Well, it's PlayStation exclusive, isn't it?
It's a Sony exclusive right now.
By the way, Xbox players, we're sorry, but get a PS4.
oh, Doctor, the console warness. Yeah, we are all playing on PSN. I don't harbor any great hate for Microsoft players, but I do feel very bad for you because you don't have 2 of my favorite weapons, which is Monte Carlo and Hawkmoon.
Oh my God, I don't have Monte Carlo, or I'd say it's my favorite weapon.
And they don't have my favorite strike either.
Oh yeah, they're missing out on the. They don't have. They're
not
missing
the Nexus mine. The
prohibitive mine.
Prohibitive mine.
No. That's that.
So many mines.
I know.
None of them in this room.
The undying mine.
The undying
it's covered in moss.
Yeah.
It doesn't die.
Yeah, and they don't have the cyan flares, which is. I mean, that's
whatever.
Okay.
Who cares?
Well, I like the cyan flares, but the undying mines.
Are they missing for the PvP maps? They have Exodus Blue.
Oh my God, which is my favorite map in the game. I love Exodus Blue. Yeah. That's where I have my longest kill streak.
Well. I don't know. I think to kind of summarize my feelings on the game, if I had to, I have all these problems with it.
Yeah.
I find myself critiquing it constantly and thinking about it critically, even when I'm playing it. but none of it eclipses how much fun it is to play. I love playing it with my friends. I love the water cooler conversation about loot and strike strategy and raid strategy. I love the PvP debating. I love when we go back and forth about which guns are best and when and why we like them. And I love the entire social aspect of the game and the mechanics of playing it so much, it eclipses the problems I have with it.
Absolutely.
But it also gives me this burning desire to see them corrected.
Yeah.
And
well, it's you always want somebody to, if they're your friend, you want them to do better for themselves or whatever. I mean, it's the same thing. Like, I love this game, like you're saying.
Mind your own business.
Hey, fuck off, bro.
Wow.
Listen.
Wow.
I think what you're saying, you just want it to be better. Right. You want them to succeed because you like their product.
And I think to that end, I'm going to keep coming back, which is why I don't regret buying the season pass. Still, I'm going to have a blast with House of Wolves, even if it's the same thing as the Dark Below.
Yeah.
And I'm excited about that. I'm really excited about the other content they're going to do with it, and I'm eager to play. Comment in the abysmal great darkness from the beyond, or whatever they end up calling.
This has been like an hour of us complaining and 10 minutes just being like, oh, by the way, guys.
Yeah, that's like the game. It's so I feel so bad for like Deej and the rest of the community managers because it's just vitriol, a sea of it just thrown at them every day. And it's like, no, but we love it. They're like, why?
Then why are you coming back?
Yeah.
Well, okay, real quick, we were talking about this slide leak that happened a couple weeks ago. Somebody apparently snapped a picture of a internal meeting at Bungie where it outlines all of their DLC content for the rest of the year.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure somebody will get fired, but
R.I.P. Dan in the server room.
Dan in the server room. But I was saying that maybe they released that because it came out a couple weeks after, or 2 or 3 weeks after Dark Below came out, when everyone was really starting to get kind of pissed about the Dark Below.
Yeah, shout out Destin Laguerre on my I'm quitting Destiny forever, which you have in no way done.
Oh, yeah. Wait, what did you say you were doing earlier? Working on your Xbox character some more?
Yeah. That's okay, bro. We love you.
But, yeah, I think that... I personally think that Bungie leaked that image on purpose. It's probably all dated content and information, but I think they leaked it on purpose to kind of give players some hope that they might be doing something right in the future. Which, even if it's not the case...
to give the players a chance to call them out if they're really, really making a mistake.
Yeah.
I don't know if I buy that it's a conspiracy, but I can see where the advantage is.
It's not a conspiracy if it's common practice for people to leak content.
Well, we're not talking about Ubisoft or Amazon France, so it's not really like an everyday thing yet.
Oh, man.
Maybe we're going down that road.
To summarize my point on the game is, and basically just tacking on what you said, is I love the game. I want to see it better. I have no intention of quitting this game whatsoever, though I do play a little bit less than I was originally.
Which is probably healthy.
Yeah, it's probably healthy. Honestly, I go outside more, even though it's the dead of winter here in Maine.
Yep.
And it's just...
cold tundra.
Yeah, it is. But I really do have a lot of hope for the rest of this game. I think that they're going to turn it around. I think that they've been hearing what we've been saying, and, we really won't know until the next expansion comes out. And, I mean, I'm going to keep playing. I'm going to keep shooting people. Going to keep getting murdered in the Crucible.
How you feeling about it, Mike?
I love this game. I love this game.
Yeah.
I'm not going to stop playing or complaining about this game. I'm not. It's never going to happen until, I guess, like, they come out with the next one and I play that. Or until I lose my thumbs in a horrible accident. I really don't know, like, what ultimately is going to take me.
You are a chef, so...
I am. That's a real possibility every day.
Ooh, wow.
That's why I got this.
Don't lose your thumbs.
I burned myself in the face because I was cleaning the grill room.
You don't need that to play video
I just got
games.
over it. So it goes.
Well, if you people are listening to this, which please listen to the things we said. We like saying them.
For this long time.
You can come and find me, Brendan, on PlayStation Network. I'm Snorlaxa. That's Snorlax with an A. And on Twitter, 2 A's. So you can follow me on Twitter or find me on PSN. I'll friend you up. We can go kill people.
Yeah, mine is this is Andrew. I'm Donka _ Donka, spelt the German way. No, I'm not German. And my Twitter is Donka, one word, with an underscore at the end.
I also have a German name. Mine's Doppelbach, spelled DOPPEL _. Oh, come on, dude.
I'm going to cut this part.
OCK.
I also have one silence. And we're gonna go play this for the rest of the day or weekend. I'm pretty sure.
we probably are. We're gonna play this and do some D&D because we don't have lives. Oh, and also I don't have a Twitter because I have a life. So
Wow, harsh. Come back here to wherever this ends up getting distributed. Next week we're gonna have another episode where we're talking about some other aspects of gaming. Probably not Destiny, but
hopefully not.
Guarantee it's gonna come back up again.
We're gonna be playing some more.
Thanks for taking time to listen to this content, and I hope you're out there being a guardian with us. Peace.
Thanks.